Hey Stampers, Diane Divich here with DDStamps.com. I should say hey Stampers and maybe non-Stampers. Welcome to my Stamping 101 Google Hangout, and I'm excited about this. It's also World Card Making Day, so this is kind of appropriate for this. I am really excited that you're all here, and I'm looking forward to sharing lots of little tidbits of information for those people that are just starting out, or even for a refresher course. I'm excited about this. I was so gonna have it together and not do that this morning. And it's amazing to me how quickly I can forget that I have to shut down one of my screens. So I have several screens open on my computer so that I can monitor comments over on YouTube. And it always starts to play when I get started. So anyway, now you know what the lag time is. So you're just a little bit behind me, but that's okay because we'll stay together here. So where was I? Anyway, World Card Making Day, that's today. Anyway, we're just gonna go ahead and jump right in. And what I want you to be aware of is if you have any questions at any time, I really want you to ask. I don't want you to feel like you can't ask me questions. I want you to know that I am monitoring comments over on YouTube. I am also monitoring comments on my website at www.ddstamps.com. And I am monitoring comments on Facebook. And hopefully I'll be able to catch everybody. I don't think we'll have a large group of people this morning, which is fine. That will make it kind of easier for me to monitor the comments. So please feel free to ask any question that you want throughout the whole morning. This should take about an hour, and I have lots of little tidbits, like I said, some demonstrations, of course, and then, of course, some freebies. So thanks for coming, and I am looking forward to this. So to start with, I just have to give this is a shout out to Julie. She usually watches my online shows, and this was actually, we have lots of bear, deer, turkeys, and moose. And this actually was one of my friends that is a fellow stamper. She just lives a couple blocks from me. This is what she encountered this morning. She's actually in her car taking the picture. So, but we do have to be a little careful around here. Last night we had a bear in our alley. I did not get a picture. It was too dark, but the bear left the garbage for me. So, but this is awesome. I love the moose. I love to watch them from a distance, and it's just great to see them back in town. So let's go to the next slide here. Like I said, if you have questions, please feel free to ask away. That's what I'm here for. Now, I did send out a little email and told people that if they had questions, they could send it to me beforehand. I had a gal that wasn't gonna be able to make it. And one of her questions was, how did you get started in stamping? And I will be honest with you, when I got started with stamping, 19 years ago, almost 20 years ago, it's been a long time. I was invited to a home party, and I didn't like home parties, but I knew it was actually October, so this is my anniversary month. I knew my friend would be mad if I didn't show up at her Stampin' Up workshop, whatever that was. I was a scrapbooker. My kids were little. They were very little. They were like 2 and 4, and so I went to her party. And I kind of went with an attitude, and I was just going to buy the cheapest thing and get out. And the demonstrator took one of our wheels. We used to have wheels with a cartridge, a handle, and she ran it across a piece of paper. And I could feel myself getting sucked in. And then she gave me a catalog. And I ordered stamps and paper at the workshop. I forgot to order ink. I went home and I spent the whole night looking at the catalog, literally the whole night. I stayed up all night making lists of things that I would like, things that I really needed. And my list was large. And I told my husband the next morning that I was going to sign up as a demonstrator to get a discount. It would probably take me about 6 months to get everything that I wanted and be done. And that was 20 years ago. So, careful what you get into. I have to tell you, it's been a fabulous, fun ride. I love it. I still love it. I still love it today as much as I loved it 20 years ago when my order came in. So one of the things I want to tell you, though, is that when I placed my first order, I only ordered paper and stamps. And luckily, my starter kit came before my order came. at that time, I will tell you, it took about 4 to 6 weeks to get our orders. So I am like in heaven now that it just takes less than 10 days. Anyway, I would have been very depressed if I would have got my order and only gotten stamps and cardstock and no ink. So when and if you place an order and you start stamping, remember the ink. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my slides. I just had to tell that quick little story because somebody had asked. I think there was another question. Oh yeah, somebody had asked about cardstock, and I'm going to go into that in full detail. So that is not a problem. So to begin with, we're going to talk about Stampin' Up! Stamps. Now we have several different kinds of stamps with Stampin' Up! And some of this may be new to you, to new people, and some of this may be old news. But I really want to explain this because it gets a little confusing. So to begin with, we have our classic rubber, which is just the classic red rubber that these stamps are made of here. And they're offered in 2 different options. And so we have what we call clear mount option, which is our red rubber that you mount onto a clear block. And then we also have our wood mount stamps, which is our red rubber that you mount on wood. And the difference is that, sorry. The difference is that the wood mount stamps come with the wood blocks and the clear mount stamps come with no block. You have to order the blocks separately. Some of the benefits of the clear mount is they're easy to store. They're smaller, so they store better. Everything comes into our CD boxes. The wood mounts are thicker. And the benefit of the wood mount is that once they're mounted, they're good to go. I will tell you personally, I like the wood mounted stamps of these 2 options. The second option that we have is our photopolymer. And our photopolymer stamps are fabulous. You can actually see through them, so you can see where you're stamping. Good gosh, I'm really screwing up my slides today, ladies. Sorry about that, and gentlemen. I'm trying to get over to, there we go. I was trying to get over to Facebook because I've been watching to see, okay. Okay, I was just gonna check to see, and I see Julia's here. So there you go, Julia, moose just for you. Okay, back to photopolymer. So the photopolymer stamps are clear. They're transparent. You can see right through them. They can line up images perfectly, and I love that about them. And I will be honest, when photopolymer first came out, I didn't care for them. I just didn't. I liked my wood mount stamps. But now that I see the true benefit of photopolymer, I actually love them. They're you can create your own stamp like this over here, where they put a whole bunch of thank you stamps onto one block and stamp and stamp the whole thing. They're flexible, so you can bend your stamps and change them and kind of take your words and bend them a little bit. It's kind of fun just to give a different look to your stamp. But honestly, the biggest thing I like is that you can see right through them, so that when you're 2-step stamping, which is actually one of my favorite techniques, I love 2-step stamping. You can see right through and everything lines up perfectly. So those are the 3 different kinds of stamps. We have the wood blocks, which is called wood mount, the clear mount stamps, which means they're red rubber but stamp on clear blocks or mount on clear blocks, and then the photopolymer, which also with the photopolymer, you need to get the clear blocks. They don't come with the blocks. You buy those separately. Sorry, gosh, I'm just losing my words. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of questions, and I am planning to answer every single one of them. But what's going to be the easiest for me to do is probably to start my first video that talks a little bit about the differences of stamps, and then I'll check the question boxes because that's the easiest way to do this. So here we go.
No matter your stamping style or stamping needs, we've got you covered with 3 styles of stamp sets. All of our stamp sets are made from superior materials here in the USA and are beautifully packaged in DVD-style cases with stamp images on the spine for quick and easy storage. All of our stamp storage coordinates, so no matter what style you choose, it will stack nicely. Our three styles are wood mount, clear mount, and photopolymer stamps. Our wood mount and clear mount stamps are made out of classic red rubber. Red rubber is really easy to stamp with and creates a beautiful, even image. Our wood mount stamps are made using farmed maple, and the corners are rounded for comfortable stamping. Stamp sets come die cut and unmounted. When you receive your stamp set, simply pop out the stamp and adhere it to your block. And then take the coordinating image off of this sheet and place it on the back. With wood mount stamps permanently mounted on wood blocks, they are always ready to go. Clear mount stamps also come die cut and come with the image labels. To adhere the stamp image label, simply pop out your stamp, remove the backing from the sticker and the back of the stamp, and place. Clear mount stamps can be positioned on clear acrylic blocks for perfect placement. One set of clear blocks will work for all of your stamps, and you can position several images on a single block for more creative combinations. With their slim profile, clear mount stamps offer a great space-saving solution, and being able to see through the block makes stamping a cinch. Photopolymer stamps offer precision alignment for alphabets, borders, and large text stamps because they're completely see-through, which also makes them great for two-step stamping. Photopolymer stamps are flexible and bendable for even more fun, creative options. And you can arrange multiple stamps on a single block for even more creative options. Something to note when using photopolymer is that you need to use a lighter touch than you would with red rubber stamping. And you may find that stamping on top of a grid paper or a stamping pierce mat would be helpful. No matter which style of stamps you prefer, we know you will love using our high quality stamps and creating beautiful images with our style of artwork. Be sure to contact your local demonstrator today for hands-on stamping experience.
Okay, so that was just a little clip of a video that Stampin' Up! Did to kind of explain the stamps, and I thought that would probably be the easiest way to show you all the different stamps. So I did get a few questions while that was playing, and so I'm going to go ahead and come back on screen, and we're going to answer those questions as we get them. And then hopefully if I don't answer your question, maybe I missed it, I would just ask that you ask it again. It doesn't hurt to keep asking. I did write down a few notes though. So first question up was, what tips for those just starting out? Della asked, what tips do I have for those people just starting out? The first thing I would tell people when they're first starting out is pick a stamp set that you like. Start with that. And then you're going to build from that. So once you picked your stamp set, whether it's a solid image or a color book image, and a color book image would just be a line drawing. In fact, I'll pull, like this would be a color book image. It could be, but it also could be just regular stamped. Okay. Solid image meaning that I'll pull one out. I didn't grab one, but I will. A solid image so that you would just use like a color ink to stamp with that. And then go from there. Personally, I think people probably get better results if they go with the color book technique first because everybody can color. Not that everybody can't stamp with colors, solid stamps, but it takes a little bit more ink pad. Does that eat more ink pads to make it look good? I hope that makes sense. So that would be my first thing. I love Stampin' Up! Because everything coordinates. I love it because the paper, the ink, the ribbons, everything that you're going to get in the Stampin' Up! Product line coordinates, and it makes it easy so you're not running around all over trying to get your reds to match. Sorry, I had to go out this morning and my hair looks terrible. Doesn't look so good. I had to go out this morning and pick up the garbage from the bear, and it is pouring rain out. Anyway, but it's snowing up in the mountains, so at least we're not getting snow in town. Sorry. Anyway, so that would be my recommendation. And Paula had asked, do I use other products? I do use a few other products from people. You know, not much though. I really stick with Stampin' Up! Because number one, when I bring in other products, things get confusing, and I need things to be like easy. I do. I think I need it to be easy. My stamp room gets cluttered very easily. As you can see today, this is probably the cleanest my stamp room has been in a long time. So I just kind of stick with what I know with Stampin' Up. I do go out and look around and see what other people are offering just to see, but I really find that most everything that I want to do, I can do with the stamps that I have. I'll bring in acrylic paints, you know, I'll bring in those kinds of things. I'll bring in items to stamp. Like up above my window there, I have some chipboard letters that I brought in, and I put designer series paper on them. So crafting projects, you know, might come from somewhere else. I hope that makes sense. And Cheryl asked, okay, I went and got some stuff while that was playing, because Cheryl asked, I know people have issues getting our clear mount stamps to mount onto our clear blocks. And I know that part of the issue is, I'm going to pull, that's why I pulled this stamp set, yeah. So I pulled, this stamp set is one of my very few, I don't have very many of the clear mounts, and this is why, and a clear block and the stamp. And so when you put the label on the stamp, if your fingerprints are greasy or your block is greasy, this one actually is pretty greasy, you need to make sure everything is clean. Sometimes I rub them down, you know, with a little rubbing alcohol. But the big thing that I found to help with the clear mount stamps is you can use either our multi-purpose Tombow glue or our two-way glue. And I think on this one, I probably used two-way glue. So what I did is I just opened up the glue tip, ran it over the stamp like a zigzag, and then let it dry. And the two-way glue is two-way because, number one, if you let it dry on something, then it's like a Post-it note. But if you attach it to something when it's wet, then it's like glue. That's why it's called two-way glue. But when you put it onto the stamp, you can probably see it. Oh, kind of, can you see it on there? That was put on a long time ago. I do it once and I leave it on there. But once I do that, then I can attach my stamp to there, and it holds on there pretty good, but it also comes off. And so that's what I do to my clear mount stamps so that they will stick better. Some people don't put the stickers on them. If you don't put the actual sticker onto the clear mount stamp, then they stick really well. But really, that's just a really quick fix, is just that two-way glue pen. But let it dry first, and then you can use it over and over and over and over. And if at some point, if you wanted to, you could take it off with like a little rubbing alcohol or something. So I hope that answers your question, Cheryl. I am going to go back to screen share so I can check for more questions, and we'll continue on through here. We got a lot of information to get through. So this is going to be talking, when I talk about solid image stamps, this is the stamps I'm talking about, this flower here. I'm just going to show this quick video that I made on how to stamp with our photopolymers and make it easy. Hey Stampers, Diane Dimich here with DiddyStamps.com, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our photopolymer stamps, and especially with the Flower Patch stamp set. It's a very large stamp set. As you can see, you have large images. But I had a customer contact me, and she's having some issues getting them inked up, and so I wanted to help her out, and I thought I'll make a video because she lives across country, and that way she can watch it, and then hopefully it'll help some of you too. So what I've done is I've taken my photopolymer stamp and I've laid it onto a clear block, and I'm going to go ahead and ink this up. And you want to make sure when you flip it over that you see there's ink all over it. Oh, I see a little piece of fuzz. I'm just going to pull that off. Can you see it in there? So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and ink that up. Make sure it's good and inked evenly. And you don't have to press real hard. You just have to lightly tap it. And then I'm going to bring it to my cardstock. And when I press down, I'm going to try to press evenly. And you'll be able to see that as it goes across the cardstock, putting ink onto the paper. And then if I pull straight up, I get a nice inked image. Now, a couple of things that I found that helped with this is I have used underneath my stamping our Stamping Pierce mat. It just gives a little bit more cushion and makes it easier to stamp with. That's our Stamping Pierce mat. Another thing that you can use is if you have an old mouse for your computer laying around, you could go ahead and use that. Make sure it's not too thick, and this isn't, so that would work good. And then if nothing else, a couple sheets of paper. But sometimes if you're working on a surface that isn't hard, my countertop is hard, and so I'm working on a hard surface. But if you have one of those tables that they're kind of plastic topped and they move, They have a little give to them. That's what makes it harder to stamp. But I'm just going to show you quickly when I have a mouse under there. And I take that. It just gives me a little bit of cushion as I stamp that down, and it gives me a nice, clean, crisp image. And, you know, there isn't much difference, but that's because I practiced, and really practice is what makes it easier to do. So I hope that helps. A little bit of cushion, some even inking, and a clean stamp. Those are probably the most important things. And then the even pressure and the pulling up and the not rocking of the stamp. Just go straight down and straight up. So I hope that helps. I'm going to have her try it and get back to me. And if not, we're going to figure out what's going on. So thank you. Okay, so that is a solid stamp. And that just gives you a little insight as to what to do with the solid stamps as far as making them easier to work with. So, okay, so I had a few people that asked questions. Mary Eli responded to Cheryl Weaver's question and just said, I just breathe on mine and that keeps them on. So I like that idea too. If you just breathe on or huff onto like your clear block and then attach your stamp, it should stick better. Ann Lee asked, where can I get the Frybox die? And I will show the link at the end of the video to how to get there. Actually, if you can go into the Stampin' Up! Store, it's under Big Shot dies or something, but I can show that later. What do you do when the photopolymer stamp won't seem to take the ink all over? Christine asks, what do you do when the photopolymer stamp won't seem to take the ink all over? Okay, so one of the things that I will tell people with the photopolymer stamps is you should clean them before you use them. When you get them, they come and I think they have like a little film on them or something. And sometimes I have a hard time getting them to ink up. So I will actually take a little stamp cleaner and my Stampin' Scrub and clean off the photopolymer stamps. And then they take the ink better. If your photopolymer stamps are getting, you know, they tend to get your oils on your hands and all kinds of stuff. You can just do like a big, or not even big, but a bowl of soapy water with a little, I use Dawn detergent, just a little Dawn detergent and some water, and I stick them all in there and I wash them off and rinse them off and let them dry, and then they stick again. So when they start to not stick or they start to not take ink, that's probably your issue, Christine. And I just use, like I said, I just use our regular stamp cleaner and sometimes a little Dawn detergent. So Julie uses the clear cleaning cloth on both the clear stamp and the block, but I also wipe all the clear blocks with the baby wipe. Then they look so nice and like blocks of ice, and then they stick for me, but I'm going to try the two-way glue. Yeah, you're gonna love the two-way glue. Honestly, you are. The clear block cleaning cloth works great too. It's like one of those cleaning cloths for your glasses, and that works great. I think you mean mouse mat. Oh, did I say mouse? Paula says, I think I said, I do mean the mouse pad. The mouse pad is what I use, but I also like to use my little Stampin' Pierce mat. Either one works. Okay, so now we're going to go into colors, and this is where I talked earlier about the colors of Stampin' Up! And one of the things that I love about Stampin' Up! Is that everything coordinates. So if you got ink paper, stamp paper, I don't know why that always happens. I barely touch my mouse and it moves around like that. Sorry. So your ink, your buttons, your cardstock, your markers, ribbon, everything coordinates with Stampin' Up! And that's why they make it easy for people to begin with, because like I said, you're not running around all over trying to find different things. Now Stampin' Up! Has 4 basic color families: the brights, the subtles, the regals, and the neutrals. And then they bring in the in colors every year. So like and the in colors come for 2 years, so they're offset. So every year we get a new set of in colors. One goes out, one comes in. And it's nice because it just kind of keeps things fresh and keeps them trendy. So I do like that. Some people don't like the in colors, but I do. I like some new stuff once in a while. Now, don't feel like you need to own it all. You don't. You only need to start with a little bit. So this is what I'm saying about our color coordination. It goes beyond just the paper and the ink, because it includes our markers and our ribbons and our embellishments. As you can see here, this is Bermuda Bay, and probably a little pool party going here, and how it all coordinates together, which I do love that. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about inks. Does anybody have any more questions about colors or stamps or any of that kind of stuff? I will keep checking. So, oh, I'm sorry to hear you've lost me. Has everybody lost me? Looks like I'm still on. Might be your internet connection. Mine's a little slow this morning, and I know it's because of the weather outside. So I hope that you are able to get back on, Paula. You are welcome, Della, for the hint on the two-way glue. Okay, so let's talk ink. Stampin' Up's has several different kinds of ink, and I am just going to talk about Stampin' Up's ink because that's what I know. I know there's lots of other kinds of inks out there, but I don't really know much about them because most everything that I'm going to do, I can do with what I have through Stampin' Up. So our classic ink, which is this red ink pad over here, is really our most basic ink. It's easy to clean up. It's exclusive. It comes in a color collection. It's an innovative ink pen design, and it's patented so that when you open it up, it actually flips the pad over, and so that the ink always stays to the top. Now with our classic inks, we have a firm foam pad. It's different than most inks, but I love it. It just makes inking up the stamp so much better. We sell re-inkers so that you can always re-ink it. And you don't need to re-ink too much. So I think I actually show a video of how to re-ink it. Okay, our archival ink, darn it. The archival ink is new to our line this year. And it is, it's a permanent ink, so it's a great choice for watercoloring. It can also be used though, like on cello bags or steel or tin, excuse me. It comes in basic black and basic gray. And it too has that innovative design that flips it over so that the ink's, it's stored upside down by itself. But this is actually made with our linen pad. And what they found was that with the archival inks, they worked better with the linen pad. And I love this ink. It's so black and it dries fairly quickly. And again, we sell re-inkers. And then we have our craft ink over here, which comes in just white, is our only one we have right now, is white craft ink. And it's it's permanent pigment white ink, and it can be used for embossing. It also gives an opaque look on dark cardstock. And this also can be used on wood, fabrics, other materials. You do need to heat set it. So those are the three of those inks. And then we have, I'm going to come back later, but this is how you re-ink one of our pads. I'm going to show it to you right this moment.
What if you could unplug your messy old chargers now and get a new charger for all?
That wasn't supposed to happen, sorry.
Hi Stampers, this is Diane Dimich with DDStamps.com, and I was just asked this week about refilling our ink pads. And so I wanted to just do a really quick tutorial on how to do that. There is a difference between our old style classic ink pad and our newer version of our firm foam ink pad. So let's go with this one first. This is Pool Party, which happens to be my absolute favorite color right now. I like to shake up my refill before I do it. This is an old linen pad. And so when I re-ink it, I just bring that ink all over the top of it, and it soaks right in. And there you go. That is a freshly re-inked, ready to go ink pad. This is our classic ink, and this is our old style pad. Now our new style pads, it's a little bit different how you ink them up. And you can tell when you look at them, I don't know if you can see in this one, but there's some white spots in there. So this one really does need to be inked. I'm going to go ahead. This is Tangerine Tango. So again, shake up your ink. And on this one, you just do lightly. You don't do a ton. You just do a real light job. And you can see how it kind of sits at the top of your ink pad. And these ink pads are different. They the ink stays right to the top of the pad, and so you don't need a whole lot of ink. but you need to re-ink them more often. So what I'm using is my bone folder, and I'm just kind of spreading that ink around in there. This one looks like it was really dry, so I'm going to add more. That's probably too much, but oh well. So you're going to add your ink, and then you're going to spread it around like you're frosting a cupcake or a cake. Spread that ink all over. I use the bone folder. You could use the back of a spoon. I use my bone folder, and as you can see by my bone folder, it does get stained, but it doesn't hurt its intended use. And then I just wipe it off with a paper towel. So that's how you re-ink the new pads. Now on this one, there might be a possibility. Sometimes if your pad, this one is real dark on the outside, but it's got a red or a lighter spot in the middle. And sometimes you can just take your bone folder and go ahead and bring that ink around, and it will take the ink from the sides and bring it right to the middle part there, where you'll get a better image. You'll get a better stamped image. So that's how you re-ink them. The new firm pads don't need a whole lot of ink at a time, but you need to re-ink them more often. And the old pads, the linen pad, as in the pool party pad, needs to have more ink. So when you buy a new firm foam pad, I would recommend that you get a re-inker with it. That way you won't be without. So thank you very much.
Okay, I hope that makes sense to people. So what I did there, I was actually doing one of our old style ink pads to begin with. And they were the linen kind, which is now our archival black ink. And then the firm foam pad in the middle, I just re-inked because it was really dry. And then the very last one, the real red pad, it wasn't that dry on the, but it had a spot. You know how you stamp and you always stamp in the same spot over and over and over on your ink pads, and you end up with a spot there. So take a bone folder or the back of a spoon or something and just move that ink around, because it's sitting pretty close to the top of the layer of the pad, and your pads will last a little longer without being re-inked. I hope that makes sense. That's just kind of some of the stuff that I do. So here we go. I was checking around, and it looks to me as if Paula, everybody else can hear me and see me. So I think part of the issue might be you, or your internet connection. Oh, it looks like you've got me now. So I hope that you are able to see me now. Okay, so if you're out there, I'm sure, yep, everybody's still there, so that's good. Looks like Francie, she's fussy cutting while listening to my spiel today, my class. Okay, so I took a tour of the Kanab warehouse where they put the ink pads together. And this is actually done by another demonstrator, but it made me chuckle because sometimes when you open our ink pads, they fall up, they come apart, and people are figuring out how to put them together. Well, I'm telling you what, these people can put those ink pads together so quickly, it would make your head spin, as my mother would say. And so here is a quick tutorial on how to do that. Oh, shoot. You gotta watch it one more time because he shows you right there how to figure out which side. Anyway, just a really quick tutorial on how to put together those ink pads. I hope that that answers some of your questions on the classic and the craft and the archival ink. If you have questions, like I said, please don't hesitate. Just put them up onto the website so I can check it out and see. Oh, good. People like the tips about the re-inking. What do you do when the ink pad gets bubbly? Okay, I think personally when the ink pad gets bubbly, Mary, I think it might be that it's got too much ink in it. So I usually take a paper towel and I might blot a little bit of the ink off of my ink pad and get those bubbles out. The other thing is that when you are washing your stamps, make sure that you're washing them and drying them and they're not being put into your ink pad with some of the cleaner on it, because that would make some bubbles. Does that make sense? It's not going to hurt your ink pad, but it is going to make them bubbly. So I would just go ahead and put like a paper towel over the top of it and just blot a little bit of the ink out. I hope that answers your question. And Cheryl asked, are craft pads linen or foam? They're actually, they're interestingly enough, they're not the firm foam, but they are a foam pad. And they are not linen. So they're a little spongier. The craft pad that we have is a little spongier because the ink is real thick, and so it makes it a little difficult to put into the ink pad. Okay. So feel free to ask more questions. We're going to go into a little bit more into ink. And I wasn't going to do this, but I think you need to know about all the other kinds of inks that we have. StazOn ink comes in black and it comes in white. Right here. The black pad comes just like the black pad, and the white pad comes actually uninked with a bottle of re-inker. And that's because it dries so quickly that if they inked the pad and sent it out when you got it, it would be dry. So every time I use the StazOn white, I have to re-ink the pad. So you don't do a whole lot. You just re-ink a little bit on there, use your pad, put it away, and then the next time you come out to use it, you'll have to re-ink it again. StazOn is great because it will go on non-porous surfaces such as window sheets, cello bags, those kinds of things. I used to use it a lot for watercoloring, but I have now switched over to our classic black ink, our new archival classic ink, because I just love how easy it is to use and clean up. And it does stain a little bit on stamps, but not too bad. Now I do use StazOn ink on my photopolymer stamps. I just don't use the StazOn cleaner. And StazOn ink will definitely stain your photopolymers. Memento ink. This Memento ink came to us when we had our blendabilities. And it's a great ink. It's great for photopolymer. It doesn't stain them at all. It's just a nice ink if you just need a black ink that's nice and black. You can't watercolor with it because it will smear, but it can be used with the, if you have alcohol markers, such as the blendabilities. So that's Memento. Versamark ink is a great ink. It's very versatile. You can do a lot with it. You can do a tone-on-tone effect or a watermark effect on cardstock. So it's great for backgrounds. What happens when you stamp it onto cardstock, when it dries, it appears just a shade darker than the cardstock. So it just gives a real muted background look. It's beautiful. It's also perfect for resist stamping and heat embossing. And to heat emboss, you need to use your heat tool and your embossing powder. But Versamark is a great ink, probably one everybody should have in their stash. So now we're moving on to paper, and I know it gets a little, oh wait, I never knew that about the empty ink pad. Oh, you're welcome, Dottie. Dottie didn't know that StazOn white. Only StazOn white comes as a blank pad and you re-ink it. But like I said, it dries fairly quickly, so every time I use it, I have to do that. Tamara, the lid came off my ink pad the other day. Got it back on. Thanks for that tutorial. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it's an interesting how to put them back together. I have to stop and think for a minute, but now that I've got that tutorial, I think I got it figured out. Doesn't happen very often, but when it does, I really want to be able to put it back together. Cool. Looks like I've answered all the questions there. And doesn't look like we have any questions over on YouTube. You guys are doing well over there. Oh, I haven't checked my website. Oops. Sorry about you over there. I should have checked before this. Okay, I do have some questions over on my website, so let me get over there and answer those. Looks like people can see and hear me over there. That's good. Everybody can see and hear me now. That's good. Oh, okay. People are still there. Okay. Okay. Well, I guess I didn't miss too much over there. So we will go on to paper. So paper, I love the high quality of our cardstock and our designer series paper. It's all coordinated, so it works beautiful together if you're making cards. And that's what I love about this. I honestly think that when I first went to a workshop, if I hadn't gone with the stamps, the ink, and the paper, or actually even just the stamps or the inks and the papers that coordinated, I would have gotten frustrated early on in my hobby, and I probably wouldn't be where I am today. I think that's one of the things I love about Stampin' Up! Is that they stand behind their product, and it's a quality product, and I can feel good that it's going to work good. They make it easy for me to look good. Does that make sense? So all of our surfaces are they're smooth for stamping, so you get a good, clean, crisp image, and it's dyed. Our cardstock is dyed all the way through. So there's no white core, which some people love a white core, and that's great. I personally I like our cardstock all the way through. And we have an assortment of different kinds of cardstock. So we have 8.5 by 11 cardstock, which is for the most part 24 sheets per pack. It's 80-pound weight cardstock. It's acid-free and lignin-free. And I did know when I was doing a lot of scrapbooking, I liked to hear that things were acid and lignin-free. So we have a good quality cardstock. So you can purchase it either as a family. So like the bold family here, you get the two sheets of each of the 10 colors. So that's how that is set up. And then our in colors are actually 4 sheets of the 5 colors. But you can also buy individual packs of our 8.5 by 11 cardstock, which is nice. If you're doing, say, a large sum of Christmas cards and you want all cherry cobbler, you can get a pack of 24 sheets of cherry cobbler, which would make 48 card bases, which is a lot. And then we have our Very Vanilla and our Whisper White, which are sold in individual pack. Someday I'm going to figure out how not to do all this switching around here. So the Very Vanilla and the Whisper White come 8.5 by 11, 40 sheets per pack. And then we also have a thick Whisper White cardstock, which is 100-pound weight. So it's a heavier cardstock. It's great for card bases, but I know people are starting to like watercolor on it too. I'm going to work on that in the next couple days just to see how I like it. The thick Whisper White comes 24 sheets. Okay. So a 12 by 12 cardstock, this is what we have in 12 by 12. Those are just sold in packs, so you bold brights, you get 2 sheets of each. Darn it. I am so sorry. I got to figure out what I'm doing today that's different than what I've done in the past. So this is 12 by 12, so you can see what they come. They don't come individually anymore. There was a time when they did come individually. I think the only 2 individual ones we have now are Basic Black and Whisper White. They come in packs of 12. So tools of the trade. Oh, I better go and see if there's any more questions on paper. Okay, here's one. Okay. How should we clean the archival ink from our stamps? Glenda asked how we should clean the archival ink from our stamps, and how you should do that is I use our stamping cleaner, and it may stain them. I mean, that's just kind of that's what happens. But if you keep them clean and don't let it dry on there, it shouldn't affect the stamping of it. I use just our regular stamp cleaner and a Stampin' Scrub, Glenda, and if I clean them almost immediately, I can get the majority of the ink off of the stamp, is what I found, especially with our archival ink. Yeah, Francie said, so many of us got started on this hobby through Stampin' Up. Yep, a lot of people have, and it's a great place to start just because they make it really easy. Julie asks, what is the big difference from the heavyweight Whisper White and the old Whisper White? I haven't seen any of the new heavyweight yet. Does it stamp on any differently? It's smooth. I will grab some and I will actually show it to you so you can kind of see after the next video. Stampin' Up! Has the best cardstock around, and I love the Designer Series paper is double-sided. Yep, I do too. Oh, the video is blurry. If the video is blurry, it is because of internet connections. So I'm sorry about that, Teresa. I wish there was something I could do to help that. Lorraine asked over on YouTube, what's the difference between Stays On White and the Craft White? Okay, so the difference is Stays On White is an ink that dries almost immediately, and it will dry on cardstock. It will dry on a cello bag or a cellophane bag or plastic or tin. And the Craft White ink pad will not dry on a cello bag. It will never dry on a cello bag. It will, it won't dry on tin. It'll wipe right off. On cardstock, it will take a long time for it to dry. Sometimes you have to heat set it to get it to dry. But it's great on fabric where you heat set it. You have to almost heat set the Craft White ink every time. And you can emboss with it. You can't really emboss with the Stays On White, but you can emboss with the Craft White. So I hope that answers your question, Lorraine. And tools of the trade. We're going to talk a little bit about tools of the trade. And this is the paper trimmer that we have. I think this is probably a basic that every stamper should have, is a good paper trimmer, because you're cutting cardstock constantly. And so I'm just going to quick show this video so that you can see what our paper trimmer is like. Doesn't necessarily mean that this is the one you have to have, but this is the one that I choose. Hey Stampers, it's Diane Dimich with ddStamps.com, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Stampin' Trimmer and some of its accessories that are now available. But I want to first talk about the personal cutter, because it actually is, it's an awesome little cutter. It's lightweight, it's portable. It's got a wide base, 6 1/4 inches is this wide big base with great numbers. It also has an extended ruler so that if you pull this out, you can go all the way out to 14 1/2 inches of cutting space, which is great for your bigger papers. It has an extra long cutting track, so it's actually longer than 12 inches, so your 12 by 12 paper fits in there fabulously. It has spaces at the bottom and the top of your cutter so that your cutting blade and your scoring blade are up and out of your way. And this is it. This is the cutter, and the lighter one is the score. So another thing it has a great under here for storage. These pop open and you can store items in there. But it's a great little cutter for cutting and scoring. And so for instance, if I have a card, I'm going to cut at 5 1/2, because that is your regular card size. And then I want to come in and score it at 4 1/4. Just line it up there and then use my scorer, and then it folds and looks fabulous. Pretty slick, pretty easy. And that's kind of your base for your cardstock. So you can also get replacements for your cutting blade if it does get dull. But one of the recommendations Stampin' Up! Has is when you're using your cutting blade, cut it back and forth. And that way you will dull your blade on both sides, and so it'll take twice as long for it to get dull. So this is just your basic Stampin' Trimmer. And then Stampin' Up! Has available now a rotary cutter that goes with it. It looks like this. And this has a rotary blade down inside of it. It's very easy to fix. Also the locking mechanism. So I can lock that down, and this isn't going to flip up when I travel with it. It's great to keep my cutter all intact when I'm traveling. And then to pull the blade off, you're just going to unlock it and pull gently. On the one end here it pops out, and then the other end will automatically pop out. And then you can pop in your rotary blade, rotary cutter, which is great too for cutting cardstock. And so you're just going to line up your cardstock where you want to cut it. I'll cut this at 5 inches. Well, I can't because it's 5 inches. I'll cut this at 4 1/2, pressing down and cutting. And then you have your cut. Oops, one of the things you need to do when you do your rotary cutter is this is a cutting mat, a self-healing cutting mat here, and it's got a groove in it for when you're using your regular cutter with it. When you change it out to the rotary, you need to flip the cutter so that it's flat. And that actually is a self-healing mat. And it makes the cutter work a lot better. If you end up with jagged edges, it's probably because you haven't flipped this piece of self-healing mat here. It's really important that you do that with the rotary cutter. So the other great thing about this is that they have these little cartridges in here. Comes with a cartridge that is the rotary cutter, but you can get other cartridges. And these are the few that we've got right now. There's a large wave, a small wave, and a scoring. Or not a scoring, perforating. So there's a little grid on here for your finger, and you just slide that blade in there, grab a piece of paper, cut it, and you've got a great, hope you can see that. Let's try this on this green piece of cardstock. Anyway, there you go. You see it? The scalloped edge. And then, really easy, they just come right out. Pop another one in. This is the perforated. Line it up, cut, and then you have a perforated edge. And if you can see where you can just fold on that and pull it off. Some people are saying if you just do this and only do it really lightly, it looks like stitching. And it does have a tendency to look like stitching. So there's just another way to use the perforated edge. And then the last one is a small scallop. Again, you want to make sure your fingers are on that grid part. Slide it in there. Put your cardstock in, run it across. Oh, it is small. And you've got, I'm going to get close. You see the little small edge? Little small scallop edge. So you've got your small scallop edge, excuse me, your larger scallop edge, and then your perforated edge. So that's the information on the Stampin' Trimmer. It's great, gives you a lot of different options. And again, if you just use it as your regular Stampin' Trimmer with your cutting and scoring, that's good too. But if you want to go with some more cutting edges in the rotary cutter, we have that available too. So. Okay, so that was the cutter. And I will tell you that I did purchase the rotary cutter, and I haven't used it much. I just don't. I don't know why, but it will cut a couple more sheets of cardstock. So I don't know if I would recommend it to people. I would not at the beginning say get the rotary cutter. I would say just get the cutter, use it, and play with it, and then see if that's something you're interested. Norma asked if I'd be talking about specialty papers. No, I'm trying to keep this at a 101 class. So I'm not going to go into watercolor paper, vellum, but I will do another one. If I have interest in that from people, I'll do another one and we'll go farther into detail. That would be Stamping 102. Julie asked, what does it mean by 80-pound paper? I don't know, Julie. I'm sure it has something to do with how much it weighs. So our cardstock, and I'm sure it's like a certain amount, like a pallet full weighs, you know what I mean? But I just know that our regular cardstock is 80-pound and our thick Whisper White is 100-pound. Okay. Dottie asks, which one do you use aside from Stampin' Up's trimmer for cutting for classes? Heavy duty, yes. Stampin' Up trimmer is awesome. Yeah, I do. I actually have a Carl cutter, it's called, and I bought it years ago. Probably paid $100 for it. I bet I've had it for 15 years. I change the blades and the mats out once in a while. In fact, I've just ordered some new mats, and I still can. It's an old cutter, but I can still get the blades and the cutting mat for it. I know it's changed over time. I don't know what the equivalent would be now, but it is a Carl cutter. But I use my Stampin' Trimmer a lot for personal stamping. Yeah, it is great that it has that little storage underneath, Mary. So I'm glad that I pointed that out to you. It's good that when people learn something new. Okay, so this is a quick video on how to cut cardstock. And this is really just basics of cutting cardstock, but this is probably one of my most asked questions. So I did this video a while ago, and here she goes. Hey Stampers, Diane Divich here with ddStamps.com, and today I'm just going to talk a little bit about cutting cardstock and how to cut it. I had a fairly new stamper
call me this week and say that's the hardest part for her, is knowing how to cut her cardstock and what shapes and what sizes to do it in. So I'm just going to give a really quick tutorial on a few things that's pretty basic, but it'll be easier for you or others who just need a little help with the cutting part. So I'm going to use our Stampin' Up! Cutter, and this is awesome because it has a cutting blade, the darker gray one, and a lighter gray one, which is a scoring blade. And I'm going to just start with a piece of our Ultra Smooth or Whisper White cardstock. So you have a couple of options, and our cardstock is 8.5 by 11, 8.5 by 11. And if you cut it in half, so I'm going to put it up here on the cutter to 5.5 and cut my cardstock in half. And then if I turn it and 4 1/4, that's the halfway point between here and here, and score it, then I have a piece of cardstock that just folds in half. It's a very nice size. It's just a regular card size. So that's one way to do it. I'm going to hang on to those because I'm going to use them later. And the other way is to take your piece of 8.5 by 11, and put it into your cutter the long way. And this time it would be at 4 1/4 because that's half of a sheet from 8.5 to across. So if I score that and then turn it and or cut that, turn it and score it at 5.5 this time, that just gives me the same size card, only a different shape. So I fold it, and this time it opens this way. So the first time it opens that way, second time it opens this way, and that's just a half a sheet of cardstock for each card with that. Now the next layer, I would take, I'll just take the scrapbook that I have here, and I'm going to cut this in half at 5.5. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to layer my cards so they have the white or the background or the base of the card and then a little border around it with a different piece of paper or a different color. And how I do that is I take a piece of cardstock and I cut it at 5 1/4. So a 1/4 inch off that side, and then at 4, which is another 1/4 inch off that side. And I'm going to have to get a different piece of cardstock because this isn't going to show up very well white on white. But I have this piece here of Cajun Craze that's already been cut that way. And so you can see when I layer this onto my card base, I get that nice even frame around there. So it's just a 4 by 5 1/4, ½ inch off each side. And that gives you that great layer. And then you can go ahead and cut your cards down even farther. And like I cut this one down. I took a piece of cardstock. This is a piece of cardstock that's 5.5 by 4 1/4. And I decide, well, I'm going to cut this at in half. And so half is 2 3/4. Chop that in half. And you'll see how nicely this is going to layer on that and on that and on that, and how you get those even borders. So it's just a 1/4 sheet of cardstock cut in half is this piece. And then I took another piece of cardstock that I'd already cut, like this one, at 4 by 5 1/4, and I cut this one in half, and I end up with a nice layer for this piece. So when you're all done, you have several ways that you can work with this. And I just find this is really the easiest way to start any base of a card to begin with. So you have your base of your card, your first layer, your next layer, and your last layer. And you can just see, I just used really contrasting so you could see how it, you could see the different frames, but you see how it works. Boy, I don't have them in there very straight, but I hope you get it. So this one here, just use that base behind it. So the base of the card is a regular size card. And then a 4 by 5 1/4 base that was put through an embossing folder, and then just decorate it on the front. Very simple, very fun. This one here, same concept. There's your base of your card, there's your first layer, and there's your second layer. So I came down another 1/4 inch on that one. You can see the different looks that you get. This one I actually took a base of a card, and then the black piece that's under here actually went off, instead of a 1/4 inch on two sides, it went off a full inch on two sides. And so it just brings it a little bit but I like the look that it gets. And then the last one here, again, same thing, has your base of your card, and then your 4 by 5 1/4 piece on the back that's been embossed, and then a couple of different layers that are just 1/4 of an inch in from each one. But lots of fun. So I hope that helps. Let me know. Thanks. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and sign up for my. Okay, so that is a quick, fast tutorial on cardstock cutting. And it's not that it's hard. It's once you get it, then, I mean, right now I can cut cardstock without even hardly thinking because it's just so new to me, or so normal. I do it all the time. But I will let you know that the slides that I'm going through today, I'm actually going to post up on my website and onto Facebook, where you can just click through the slides and watch the videos again, just to kind of help you along there. Cutting cardstock is, once you get the concept, it's pretty easy. I like to stick with those basics though when I first start out, and with my new stampers, because you can take that basic cut, those basic cuts, and you can do a lot with it. Now, I had a couple of questions while I was playing the videos. One of them was the difference between our thick cardstock and a regular cardstock. Okay, so this is our regular cardstock. You can see it's great cardstock. I love it. It's ultra smooth. It's what I use the most because that's what I'm used to. And then we have our thicker cardstock, which, as you can see, it's not quite as flimsy. It's a little bit thicker base. It has a little more oomph to it. It's got a smooth surface, so it's good for stamping. It's great for card bases. I would love to use it. I would, and then use it for if I'm making boxes with cardstock. This is a great cardstock to use because it's a little bit heavier than just your regular white. So those are the differences. I love them both, but I will be honest, I use the Whisper White Regular the most, and it's all because of habit. So when I start, you know, getting a different habit of using the thick cardstock, I forget that I have it. So honestly. And then David over on YouTube asked me about if I mountain fold or valley fold my score lines. So when I score a card, I'm hoping that you guys are going to be able to see this. Can you see the score line? Oh yeah, you can. So there's a score line in this card right there. That would be the mountain of the score line. And then if I flip it over, this one goes down. So that is the valley of the cardstock. And I will tell you that the mountain valley, how to fold a cardstock debate will continue for years to come. I personally have told people for probably the first 18 years that I was a stamper, I don't think it makes a difference. I don't think it matters. But I kind of came to the conclusion that I personally like it if I fold in on the valley. And then I get a nice crease on my cardstock and it doesn't crack. So that's what the score line does. Again, there isn't any right or wrong answer. Some people will swear by the fact that you have to fold on the mountain. And actually, when I folded on the mountain, I don't know. I think I like that. I think I like that line better. So the debate will continue. It's personal choice, whatever works for you. I hope that answers that question, David. But I don't always look to see how I'm folding my paper. Okay? Okay, so there's my answer to that one. Oh, it looks like I got a bunch of questions. Okay. Oh, Paula asked, what does 101 mean? When I said Stamping 101, Stamping 101 just means that it's just the first class in the series. I hope that makes sense. So Paula, what I mean by that is, like in college, when you take a college class, there's English 101, and then you go to English 102, and then 202 means that you're in your second year of college. So Stamping 101 is the basics. Some of the things that you need to know. I know that's kind of goofy, but that's just how I am. Okay. Stampin' Up! Cardstock is heavier than what you buy at craft stores. Yeah, it is. Melody, cutting and layering have been hard for me. I realize that I don't know how to read the markings on the cutter, the 1/16, the 1/8, and the etc. Okay, I am going to pull up my cutter and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Oh, good. Della's back and Paula's back. Two people actually, we lost two people, and I'm glad that they're back. That's awesome. Okay, so we're getting close to being done here. I got a few more things to talk about, such as adhesives, and then I've got some techniques to show you. So hopefully everybody has learned something. Adhesives can be a little overwhelming, but I don't want it to be.
So we're going to talk a little bit about it. So the adhesive that I use the most is the snail adhesive. It's a double-sided permanent adhesive, and it applies. You can control the amount you use. It's easy to use. It's usually what I'm using in my videos when I show them. It's called snail because you go across the cardstock at a slow pace and it puts the adhesive down. Actually, snail stands for something. I can't remember the acronym. Sorry. Green glue, multi-purpose liquid green glue. That's what I've called it in the past, is green glue. It's actually the Tombow multi-purpose green glue, liquid glue. I call it green glue because the cover's green. And it adheres like embellishments and glitter. It's got a really strong hold. It's great for boxes because you have a little give, a little bit of time. It doesn't dry immediately. So you can kind of manipulate your box around. Mini glue dots. These are great for things that are a little bit heavier, buttons, ribbons. They're super sticky. Then they're really no mass. You just pull them off. Stampin' Dimensionals. I think everybody should own Stampin' Dimensionals because they add so much to your cards when you put a few of the items on your cards, maybe a layer up on Dimensionals. It just gives it a little bit more. I don't know, it's just a lot of fun. I love Stampin' Dimensionals. I use them all the time. So everybody should have those. Fast Fuse is new to our line. I think it came in the line last year, and it's a super strong adhesive bond. Takes a little use to getting a little trial and error to use it, but once you get the hang of it, it works great. Our fine tip glue pen is brand new this holiday, and I love it. And it's great for little bits of glitter, little tiny embellishments, little intricate, like our words or our framelets, anything that's got, you know, a little bit of paper. It's like we have the framelets that say peace. It's easy to glue them out now and stick them onto something. So I love that. Our two-way glue, which is this one here, and that's the one that I talked about using with your clear mount stamps. And it is great. It's, if you let it dry first, so you put it on a piece of paper and then let it dry. Don't put it on anything. Then it's like a Post-it note. So it's tacky, but you can remove it. But if you put it onto something and then adhere it to something else while it's wet, then it will stick. So it's perfect for little touches of glitter here and there and that kind of stuff. Tear and tape adhesive is new to our line this year, and it's great for putting together 3D items and boxes. It's easy, super easy to use, and you just tear it. Tears super easy. So I do have a, oh, I have to show this one, and I kind of explained why in, oh, maybe this is all of the adhesives. Never mind. Okay, here's the video.
Hey Stampers, Diane Demitch here with DDStamps.com, and one of the questions I get asked a lot about is adhesives. And so yesterday I spent some time kind of going over adhesives and trying to see what it's all about, and got some great information. And I have to tell you that after all this time, I learned some things too. And so anyway, I'm going to go over some of the adhesives in the Stampin' Up! Catalog. And every single one of them I use for different reasons, and I'll give you those reasons why. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the two-way glue pen, which the two-way glue pen has a permanent adhesive bond and also a temporary bond. It's nice because it dries quickly. It's great for adhering glitter to something. You just put a little bit of glue on, sprinkle a little glitter on, it's good to go. It's blue when it's wet and it's clear when it's dry. You get 10 grams in a bottle. It's got a chisel tip on it, so it's kind of like a marker tip. So you can use it, you know, fast or fat or thin. It washes off with soap and water, which is great for kids, and it's also acid-free. So in order to do this, like if you wanted a temporary bond for a stencil or a mask for one of your projects, what you'd need to do is write, like I drew right across this with the two-way glue pen a little bit ago, and it just gives like a Post-it note stick to it so that I can lay it down, stick it to a project, stencil or stamp or mask or whatever, and then it will pull off. Now mine probably wasn't nearly quite as dry as it should have been. I did end up with a blob on this end, but this end just did it very well. So that is the temporary bond. The permanent bond is when you put it on wet. And it's, oops, see how I squished down the chisel to make it come out? And then I just made a puddle. But if it's wet like that, that is going to be a permanent bond to whatever I stick this to. It's going to stick when it dries. So that is the two-way glue pen. And like I said, to start it, you push it down on that chisel tip, and then it starts the flow of glue. Just don't do it quite like I did. I got a little carried away. So this was the one that I learned a lot about, was the Anywhere glue stick. And I use the Anywhere.
I didn't even talk about the Anywhere glue stick. I forgot about that, but that's all right. Sorry, I'll get back to that.
Hey Stampers, Diane Demich here with DD Stamp. As you can see, this one has dried out. It's still just a little sticky, but it pulls away and starts to dry out. That's because it's not a very good seal on it. So most glue sticks should be sealed up in a plastic bag, and then they'll stay fresh and able to use. So that was the big tip I learned yesterday. I was pretty excited about that because I've had a little frustration with the glue sticks when I open one up and it is dry. I knew I'd remember the word. Okay, so the next little one I'm going to show you is our mini glue dots, Stampin' Up! Carries, and they come on a roll like this, and you get 300. They're super sticky adhesive dots. I just keep this piece of waxy paper to cover them up when I'm not using them. There's no fumes, there's no mess, there's no drying time, nothing. They bond instantly to a variety of materials, so you can use them with paper and fabric and wood and foam and plastic and buttons and all kinds of embellishments. They're easy to use, they're photo safe. You get 300 per pack. That's a lot of mini glue dots. And they're great for attaching embellishments. And so the best way to do this is to take your embellishment, and I just punched out some little paper flowers, and actually stick them directly onto the glue dot. And then when you go to pull it off, it comes off and the adhesive is on the back and it attaches to your project. Now, one of the things that I like to do with these is like googly eyes. If I've got a whole bunch of googly eyes I'm doing for something, I just stick them along on there, or buttons, or even these little flowers. If I'm doing a whole bunch of cards, I just attach a whole bunch. And they're gonna stay on there until I pull them off. And I will tell you that when if you try to pull off a glue dot with your finger or whatnot, it'll stick to your finger, and then it'll stick to your other finger, and then it'll stick to your other finger, and you'll never get it to your project. So it's best to put your embellishment or whatever onto the thing and then pull off to get the adhesive off there. Or if you're using like a little poker, you can pull one off. So anyway, that is the Stampin' Up! Glue dots. Okay, moving on, we have the multi-purpose liquid glue, which I refer to as the green glue just because it comes in a tube that has green lids. And this is a great glue. It's a latex rubber acrylic resin adhesive. That is a mouthful. And it's great because it's got a permanent bond, and it's also got a temporary bond, which I didn't know that. So that's something I just learned. It works great for adhering your cardstock or designer series paper to chipboard or coaster board, or if you're putting boxes together. Anytime I'm putting a project together that I want it to have a permanent bond, but I might want to have a little give to it, before I actually put it together like a box, I want to make sure it's lined up straight. I use this because you have a little bit of time to manipulate the piece of cardstock, and that's great. It dries clear. It's excellent. Again, this is great for adhering glitter, especially our heavier glitters, to a project, because you have a lot of where you want to put it, because you have a pen tip on one end. And so you can just do a little line and fill that with glitter, and it works out great. And the other end of this has a chisel tip with a little hole in it. And so if if you want to spread a lot of adhesive, it's probably about a 1/2 inch. So that's a great end on that. Like I said, it's permanent and it's temporary. You just need to let it dry. So like on this piece, again, just like my other piece with the two-way glue, I added a little bit of this glue to this piece of cardstock a few minutes ago. And I can see where it's a little bit heavier of a bond because I put quite a bit on there. But when this dries completely, I will have a temporary bond. So I can put a little bit of that on to a piece of paper and use it as a mask. One of the things that people are doing is taking a little bit of your multi-purpose glue, spreading just a little bit onto your clear stamps, letting it dry, and then your clear stamps will definitely stick to your clear blocks. This is a great alternative for those people who are having some issues keeping those clear stamps onto your blocks. So there's another little tip. Anyway, Love this glue. I refer to it as green glue just because it's got green lid. That makes sense to me. Another one this is probably the one I use the most is my snail adhesive. And I had to laugh about this too because again, I learned something about this. This was called snail because it's simple, it's neat, it's affordable, and it's inline. That's how you get snail. You get 472 feet, and I know that the refills have changed. It has changed up a little bit. It's blue now. It used to be white. And people think they're not getting as much, but you really are getting just as much as you did before. It's just that now it's on a clear piece. The adhesive is on clear, and we have found that it works better for putting it onto your project, and it doesn't snap. Sometimes people broke them, and then you end up with a bunch of glue in there. So it's not that you get less, it's just that it's on a thinner piece of cellophane. You have a lot of control with this directly to your project, so your hands in your work area never get sticky. When I'm working with my green glue, my hands are always sticky. It's great for cards, it's great for scrapbooks, and it's also great for any other paper crafts or art projects you're doing. It has refills, which I actually did a video on the refills because I had a friend of mine who had stamped with, actually it was her workshop I went to 17 years ago when I became a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And I just learned this past year that she didn't know that there were refills for the snail. That's why she never used it. And now I have another video that I actually show how to change it out. It's very simple if you want to go ahead and look at that. But I was really kind of bummed, and that's why I'm starting to do some of these basic classes on some of our basic stuff, because after all this time, it's all up in my head where other people don't know. They don't know it as much information, and so I like to share that with you. Okay, so one of the nice things about snail is, I see it's permanent and it has a strong bond. And the other thing is, the other reason they call it snail adhesive is because you're supposed to roll it slowly like a snail. Who knew? Along your artwork. And so what you want to do is set it down. You're going to put your finger on there's like a grid here, and that finger's going to go on there. You're going to lay it down, and you're going to pull back slowly, and it gets full of adhesive, and then you're going to pull back slowly, and that gets full of adhesive. And usually if I'm doing a piece of paper like this, I might do a little bit here and a little bit here, but that's usually all you need. And then it will attach. Oh, sure, and then I use a piece of white paper, so you can't see it anyway. It'll attach right onto your cardstock. So you just want to pull slowly. Don't chop, 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 chop. You want to pull slowly and like a snail, and then it will come out of that container. Stampin' Dimensionals, another one of my must-go-to products. I have these all the time. They come in a package like this. You get 3 sheets, and there's 100 in each sheet. I use them for everything that it's double-sided. It's a double-sided little with foam in the middle to raise some of your projects up. It's 300 a sheet or 100 a sheet. You can add a little dimension. It's great for layering. It's great for also 3D effects. They're all cut hexagonally inside here so that you use up your whole sheet. When these are all gone, then I just go around and I use a scissor and cut around at the edges, and I use every last bit of it. It's awesome. So, and the other thing is once these sheets are empty, these are great for what you're gluing. Like if you're gluing a little small piece and you need some snail, glue it on here, and then that adhesive will peel off. It won't have a mess on your piece of paper or your table. So, Stampin' Dimensionals, can't live without them. Sticky Strip. Sticky Strip is a double-sided.
We no longer have Sticky Strip. Now it's tear and tape. So things have changed a little bit since I did that video. So there you have it. Okay, some of the other tools that I think you need. Oh, I did have some questions. Sorry, I didn't mean to like slam through those as fast as I could. Oh, David would like to see a class on vellum and not sure how to use it. Yep, that could be a whole class. I will look into that and see what I can do. The other questions I had was, oh, Tony asked about getting an overall glitter effect without using embossing powder. Yes, I have. I have done several things with that, Tony. One of them is just to use get a spray adhesive from your local craft store for paper and just spray your cardstock lightly and then add glitter to it. The other thing I like to do is there's an effect out there with a dryer sheet where I will take a glue stick, actually, you could do that too. Take one of our glue sticks, stamp your paper, take our glue stick and run it over the whole thing, and then add glitter to the top of that and let it dry. That would be a very thick thing of layer of glitter. The other thing I've done is the dryer sheet technique, which is you do the same thing with the glue stick, you run it all over the paper, and then you add a piece of a used dryer sheet over the top and then sprinkle glitter on. And the effect is fabulous. I have a video on that you can find in my YouTube channel. So I hope that helps that answer. A couple of other things that I really think people need when they're beginning stampers is definitely a paper snip or a nice pair of scissors, stamping sponges, because the sponging thing makes everything look better, and then your bone folder, which I use for scoring my cardstock, creasing my edges, and obviously using on my ink pads to make sure that they're inked well. So you can use it for a lot. I didn't realize we were going to run so late today. Sorry. I hope you don't mind hanging with me a little bit longer. I love Christine. She has 4 green glues at home, and this is the first time she knew there was another end. That's awesome. And Julie loves Stampin' Dimensionals. Oh, I think everybody has to have dimensionals. It's like, it should be your number one adhesive. Maybe number 2 with snail. Okay, so this first technique uses our photopolymer stamps in the Flower Patch set, and I just wanted to show you the solid stamping with the 2-step stamp set. So this is a real basic technique. You can see in this particular card that I have used cutting my cardstock 1/4 of an inch on 2 sides, and then just the base.
Hey Stampers, Diane Dibbich here with ddStamps.com, and today I'm going to teach you or show you how I made this card. It's actually very, very, very simple, but I love the depth of it and how it looks. This is actually like a 2-step stamp set is what they call it, but you can go all the way up to 3. This was the set in the catalog that caught my eye the most this year. It is called Flower Patch. It's awesome. These images are just actually shown very small. It says 70% of the real size, but you can see on the back here, I hope you can see that without the glare, but these images are rather large. And this is a photopolymer set, which means it's just your clear rubber. So you can tell that I used this one in a red color because it stained it a little bit pink, but it doesn't change how the stamps look as far as inking them up. It's not going to get red ink into my yellow pad if I went that route. But I'm just using a piece of Stampin' Up's Whisper White cardstock and some Calypso Coral ink, and I'm just going to ink this up. And once I do that, on this particular stamp, I'm going to stamp off. So I'm going to stamp it off here, then bring it back to my project and stamp it onto my cardstock. One of the things I like is that you can actually see if through that clear block exactly where you're going to stamp. But you can also see if the ink if the stamp is completely pressed down, you can watch it kind of move across the paper. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and add this one. And I could add this to the back of my block. So I'm using them both, or I can just pull this off. I'll pull it off now so you can actually see what I'm looking at. But I'm going to ink this one up. And this time I'm not going to stamp off. I'm just going to ink it up. And then I can see exactly where I'm stamping. And stamp down. And you can see how you get the layered images. I love 2-step stamping. I always have. And I love these big decorative stamp sets. They're a lot of fun to work with. And so there was my first image. And then I'm going to come in with this little 5-petal flower and ink this one up. This one's getting inked up in So Saffron. And again, I'm going to stamp it off and then stamp it on my project. And then come in with another layer. And there's all kinds of layers that you could put in there. I'll use this one here. This one's going to get inked, and this one's going to get inked full strength, and I can see exactly where I'm stamping. And I'm going to stamp down. And then you can see where I'm getting those images that are layering. And then a little leaf, and there's a bunch of leaves in this one, and some wild wasabi. And again, I'm going to stamp off. And then, nice thing you can see about this is you can see exactly where your placement of your leaf is gonna be. And I'm just inking it off because I thought the wild wasabi was just a little too bold for this particular card. So quick, you can see how quick those are and a lot of fun to stamp with. And then I'm going to take one of the sets in here, the sayings. Here it is. Put this on here. Oh, you know what? I didn't want to ink it up in green. Oh well, we are now. I'm going to ink this up in green. And there you have it. Now, if I wanted to, I could actually even do a third layer by just coming in with another stamp, inking that up. I don't know how much it'll show with the coral on the coral, but let's try it. Oh yeah. And then what I did with this is I actually added it onto a card base. Okay, so because I had stamped this one in the Wild Wasabi, I had to go cut myself another piece of cardstock because I was going to put this on Pool Party with some Pool Party ink, but I think the Wild Wasabi is going to be beautiful too. So I just have a sheet of 8.5 by 5.5, and I scored it at 4 1/4. And I'll put all the measurements up on my website with pictures and instructions so that.
David, I just wanted to tell you on that card right there, when I folded that card, I folded it so that the valley was on the outside of the card base. I think that's funny. I caught that quickly. Oh, I want to go back because I want to show you how I... So there you can watch it again.
8.5.
I'm really having some issues right now. Darn it. I should have let it go. Sorry. The joys of a bad internet connection.
Hey Stampers, Diane Dibbich here with ddstamps.com, and today I'm going to teach you or show you how I made this snail. And I'm just going to add a little bit more here just to make sure that that sticks to where that ribbon is. And place this on my card. And then trim off my edges so that my ribbon's beautiful. And then come in and just add a couple of rhinestones to my flowers. And the last thing that I would do is I would take another sheet. This is actually another sheet of cardstock. It's the same layer as this one, and it's 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm just going to come in with, change out these clear stamps. Add that. This in the middle. And a couple of leaves. Maybe a couple. Oops. Here's a nice thing about clear stamps. So I missed it there. If I just go back in, I can line it right back up and press and get it right on exactly where I need it. And then I'm going to add a little adhesive into the inside of my card. And then, of course, I'm going to come in with the envelope. And actually, I'm just going to do the same flower on my envelope. And then up on the back. Come in with a leaf. Or 2. Oh, what the heck. And there you have it. There's a nice little combination card with the envelope that matches. And I love this ribbon. But
so there you have it. That was a really basic stamping 101. I showed several techniques in there. One of them was using the same ink pad by inking off and then letting it dry and then inking the second layer and letting that dry and then inking a third layer. So you can see where you can get a lot of mileage out of one color of ink. And that's great. So that was a great technique. It also shows how the various shades of cardstock, ribbon, inks all coordinate together. And so I love that. That's a pretty basic card. Somebody had asked what envelope paper is. It's just a lighter form with it's paper we have in the catalog, and it's just a lighter designer series paper. It's printed on both sides, but it's lighter and easier to fold and make envelopes with. Now this technique is a quick one. I want to show this one too, and we're going to wrap it up here shortly, but this is just a really quick technique just using ink and cardstock.
Hey Stampers, Diane Dimich here with ddStamps.com, and today I'm going to show you a technique using blue painter's tape and ink, and it's kind of a fun background technique. It works with just about any stamp set. But I wanted to let you know that I tried it with the green tape. That's what I had originally, and it didn't work very well. The green sticks to the paper too much. So you just want to go ahead and get some blue. And then I'm also using our note cards and envelopes and the ink. And so here is Pear Pizzazz. So you're just going to get some ink on your tape, bring it to your cardstock, kind of swirl around on there, get the tape to go down for the ink, and then pull it up. And every time you do this, it's going to look totally different. You'll never have two cards that look the same. And you do that and pull it up. And then I'm coming in with Crisp Cantaloupe as my top layer and pull that up.
Oh, gosh darn it.
Hey Stampers, Diane Dimich here with you. It's kind of a fun background technique. It works with just about any stamp set. But I wanted to let you know that I tried it with the green tape. That's what I had originally, and it didn't work very well. The green sticks to the paper too much. So you just want to go ahead and get some blue. And then I'm also using our note cards and envelopes and the ink. And so here is Pear Pizzazz. So you're just going to get some ink on your tape, bring it to your cardstock, kind of swirl around on there, get the tape to go down for the ink, and then pull it up. And every time you do this, it's going to look totally different. You'll never have two cards that look the same. And you do that and pull it up. And then I'm coming in with Crisp Cantaloupe as my top layer and pull that up. And then I'm going to ink up the Lovely as a Tree in the Early Espresso right over the top of that whole thing. And then I'm going to come in with the Thanksgiving sing very truly grateful. And there you have it. A very quick note card, easy to do. It looks great, and you get, like I said, no two cards look the same. So enjoy that technique. Have a lot of fun with it. I'd love to see some of your.
Okay, so that is the tape tech. I love that technique. It's super easy to do, and it looks great with everything. And I just wanted to show a couple techniques that were pretty basic, pretty easy to do, and that just took ink pads and paper and cardstock, because that's what this class was about, was just sticking to those items. Pam asked, when you talk valley and mountain, do you mean the raised part when you score? Would that be the mountain? Yes. So on the side that it's raised is the mountain, and the side that it goes in is the valley. Hope that helps. Let me see. Okay. Oh, back to answering questions. Julie had to leave. See you, Julie. Yeah, why doesn't Stampin' Up! Make colored ribbon for all their cardstocks? So many cardstocks don't have ribbon to match. Mary, it's a matter of how much ribbon can one person have. So they offer a variety of different ribbons in a variety of different colors. I haven't ever checked to see which colors don't have a ribbon to match, but you can always take our white ribbon, any of our white ribbons, and with a little re-inker and a little water and some re-inker, you can dye them, but you can also pull them through an ink pad and make them any color that you want them to be. And I've done that on several occasions with cards that I'm doing that may not have quite the ribbon that I want. So I think it's just a matter of there's only so much space to have so much product. That particular sentiment that I just used, Dottie, I'm assuming was the Grateful for You. I believe it is in, let me check here. It's in the stamp set For All Things. That's the one I used in that card, I believe. Okay, so we're getting close to the end, but I just wanted to let you know that this month's tutorial for this month is this great Peaceful Pines tutorial. This is just little snippets of each card. What I like about this tutorial, good gosh, talk much, is that every single card could be used with any other stamps, any other papers that you have, and change the whole look of the card that you're giving away. So this is a Christmas set. Looks very Christmassy, but if I changed out my paper and changed to a birthday stamp set, using all the same cutting pattern, everything on the card except change the stamps that I'm actually using, it would look like a totally different card. So these are what some people call sketches. There is a great little tutorial. You use them as sketches, and so then anything that you have will go good with it. But that's my tutorial this month for free. And I give that away to anybody that places a $40 order, or if you're part of my virtual club, you get that tutorial. The other thing I wanted to talk to you today is that Stampin' Up! Is doing a fundraiser with Paper Pumpkin. And it's Stamp Out Breast Cancer. So for every paper pumpkin that subscriber that we have by September 10th or October 10th, we'll get a free, or they'll send $1 to the organization that we're sponsoring. I can't remember the name of it, but it's in that slide. I'll go back to it. But Paper Pumpkin is a great starter for anybody that wants to learn how to stamp, because it comes in these great little boxes. Of course, they're orange and they're cute, and they come in your mailbox. But inside the box, this happens to be September's box, and you always get a stamp set. So this is a great little Halloween fall stamp set, an ink pad, and then all the stuff to make the projects. So this is a great way to start. This actually was some treat bags for Halloween, which I obviously haven't done yet. Actually, I'm saving them. I'm doing a breast cancer fundraiser next week, and we're doing this with that. But anyway, it's a great little way to start your stamping. If you have never stamped before and you just want to try it out, this is a great way to do it, because you get everything in the box to do. It stamps, the inks, the papers, everything's there, good to go. You will see underneath, whether you're on YouTube or my website, there is a link that you can click to and read more about Paper Pumpkin if you're interested to learn more about that. Let's see. A couple more things. So they're donating to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. It's not that I didn't remember. I mean, that's a mouthful of words to remember. So that's the Paper Pumpkin. Does anybody have any more questions? We are like wrapping it up here soon. I went like 40 minutes over what I thought I would do. But I'm okay with it. As long as I can be answering questions, that's awesome. Yeah, the painter's tape technique is awesome. Oh, good. Yeah, most people do have that blue painter's tape. And if it's a little too sticky, just run it on your jeans, and that will take some of the stickiness off, and it won't stick to your cardstock. Perfect. Looks like I've answered everybody's questions. So I'm just going to keep plugging here. You guys, if you have any more questions, feel free. I just wanted to mention that I am doing a special for a goodie bag. If anybody wants to order in the next 48 hours from my online store using this hostess code, order by October 5th, and you will get a goodie bag in the mail. And I will let you know that if your order is over $150, do not use the hostess code. Take the stamping rewards for yourself. I will make sure you still get the goodie bag. The other thing that I'm going to do this time around is for everybody that decides to place an order. Just a minute, I'm going to pull myself up on screen here. So I'm going to put the name of everybody that places an order by Monday using the hostess code, and we're going to actually raffle off. We're going to give this hostess set away. This is the 6 Sayings hostess set. So this will go in the mail to somebody who places an order in the next 48 hours. That's kind of exciting. This is one of the hostess sets. It's only available if you're a hostess of a party. So I like that idea of being able to give those away. And then last but not least, we have our door prize drawing, and I don't want you guys to miss out on that. So pull that up. The door prize drawing. Oh, I didn't pull up the window. Okay, so what you will find is if you look under the, either at my website, there's a link to click. On Facebook, there's a button to press. On YouTube, there's a link in there. Click on that, fill out the door prize slip. I actually wrote down a number for somebody to win. That would win. Let me look. I gotta look under my pile of stuff here for that sheet with the number on it. And that person will win the door prize, which happens to be a package of rhinestones this week. So go ahead and fill out your door prize. Ask me any more questions while I'm still here. It looks like we're good. Mary loves her paper pumpkin. I do too. I hope you guys learned something today. And I hope that I've answered as many questions as I can. I don't think I missed anybody's questions. So I'm just going to give you about 30 more seconds for people to catch up to me, because I know that you guys are actually a little behind me. And I want to make sure that we get the door prize drawing done. Okay. Oh yeah, here though, the people are starting to come in. Good, good. Okay, so thank you all for your time. If you have any more questions, now's the time to ask. And I am going to say goodnight. And the winner of the door prize happens to be Cindy Lindsay. Yay, Cindy, you were number 18. How I do this is everybody's names are tossed into a spreadsheet and they come up numbered. I pick a number beforehand, and number 18 was the winner, and that happens to be Cindy Lindsay. So I'm excited about that. Good for you, Cindy. I will be sending out those rhinestones to you. I have your address, so we don't have to worry about that. And I'm going to make a little sweep around and see if there's any more questions. It doesn't look like there is. So I think we're ready to say goodnight. I will stick around for about a half hour and be on Facebook. If you have questions, you can always message me or email me. Thanks very much. And it's time for everybody to go stamp something for World Card Making Day. That's my plan this afternoon. I'm going to do a little stamping in my stamp room and make some more cards. So I have a great day, and thank you very much.